Hi, and welcome to my channel. My name is Alison Dorland, and I'm a Canadian artist from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and it feels like it's been a year since I've done a video. It's probably only been a couple months. I really wanted to take the time just with my young family and was waiting for the weather to turn. Here in Calgary, it's supposed to get cold and snowy tomorrow, so perfect time to get back into regular videos with you all. I'm preparing for an art show, and it's here in Calgary the second weekend of December, and it's called the Under 100 Show, and we're allowed to submit as many pieces as we want for under $100. And I've just been so excited to it's motivated me to really look at what I have that's unfinished at home that could be finished, and just a way of advertising for myself sort of in one place to have, they get, I think, a couple thousand people come through these shows, and you don't physically have to be present. So I'm kind of going off track, but I have this art show coming up, and I've really been preparing for that, and I thought, maybe there's some things that I've been doing that would help you all. I did do a video on how to mount watercolor paper to panel, and I want to go through that process today. I had posted a video of this to my Instagram account, and my battery was running low on my phone and it cut out. So I got through most of the process of how to mount a piece of paper to a cradled wood panel. So this is what it's called, to be cradled. You can get round panels, triangular, different shapes. Square is the most common, the one that I use quite often. And it's just kind of cool. Like, we all have these little pieces of paper, little paintings that are laying around, that we can easily mount to a panel. And instead of buying a canvas, it's just a really fun alternative. They're really, really great to work on. I love working on wood, so I see I have a lot of wood on my space. I have a wax coating on this particular painting. I am totally sidetracking, which those of you that follow me, you know that my videos tend to have a lot of content and I jump around, but I want to behave myself, and I want to kind of tell you what the video is about today. But first, I am going to pull one of my art poetry cards, because I had launched this oracle, or I call it an art poetry deck. It's basically a deck of 71 cards of all of my art and inspirational words on each one. And I had designed these cards as well as the box. I did all of the paintings in here. They're all my original work, and I'm so pleased with how they turned out. So I published this in August, and I have been blown away. I've had probably over 200, maybe about 250 orders since August. And so I also took a little break from filming because I was just so busy packaging and wrapping, and grateful for it. But I never knew I could get so busy from this little art deck. And so whoops, I'm just gonna lose my wood panels here. I'm just gonna show you. If you have purchased, or if you do purchase an oracle deck from me, or I'm gonna call it an art deck just because I know it's not really truly an oracle deck in the sense of the word. And I wrap these decks up, and I have found the most wonderful mailing boxes, because for those of you that were in my first, I don't know, probably 10 orders, the box was often damaged because I was wrapping the cards in this box, but it was really thrown around with airmail and stuff. So I just want to let you guys know, if you do order these, they will come sort of double wrapped, and these boxes are so sturdy, so it will be better protected. And you can get these on my website, alisondorant.com, if you're interested. And I'm just so grateful to those of you that have supported me. And if it's not in your budget, or you're just not interested in having the deck, I thought, today would be a really good day just to go through the 71 cards with you all. It's been a while since I was pulling a card daily, and things just got so busy. And the deck that I felt like I kind of warmed up. You know, it takes a while to kind of get these cards, what I say, warmed up to be shuffleable. You have to sort of, you know, use them regularly and shuffle them regularly, kind of get them going. They're a really high quality 350 gram cardstock. So for those of you that know paperweights, they're a great quality. And so I'm so pleased with them. But what would help is just to go through these cards really quickly. And I left the deck that was sort of well loved at my in-laws' house, and actually my mother-in-law was so sweet. She's like, "Oh, I just love this deck. Can you leave it here?" And I didn't realize, but it was the one that I use most on video. So this one's a bit stiff. It's new. I'm just going to quickly flip through. You can see I embellished the deck with a gold Sharpie paint pen. Just in the moons. I often do moons in my work. For those of you that kind of know my work, there's another one. So if you have purchased my deck, I just so happen to have this water-based Sharpie paint pen, and that is what I use to add a little bit of gold. I do think these Sharpie, the water-based paint pen, they have changed their formula and it's not as high quality anymore. So do kind of, you know, find one that you like. The key is water-based and it's an acrylic, so made of acrylic paint. And just a quick tip is there's a cartridge in the middle. You always want to store these horizontally so that cartridge stays dry. If they're standing upright like this, they will dry out. So you will get a better life out of your paint pens if you keep that cartridge moist and store them horizontally. I'm already sidetracking here. Be present. That is why I paint. My artist why is because I paint art so it keeps me in the moment, so I can really turn off my mind and just be in the deepest sense of relaxation and really enjoy the process. So I really am all about the process of painting more than the final product. Weather the storm as it too will pass. These are what I call my art poetry paintings. Remember your why. I do a lot of horse rescue and rehabilitation fundraising, so that's why I have a horse on this card. Remember your why. Find the silver lining. I really want to paint those little gold rainbows, gold metallic, so they shine. I'll have to get a thinner pen. This is my painting In the Elements, and on here I wrote, know your boundaries and respect those of others. Map out your vision. So this is an example of a reticulated style that I was really trying to, when I was trying to find my style, I was able to get this reticulated pattern, which I love. So you'll see and hear me talk about that quite a bit. Some of my more recent work. And oh, funny enough, so develop your authentic voice. So speaking of finding your own style, you know, and it takes hours and hours and hours of practicing to really hone in on your own style, you know, emulating other artists, taking courses, you know, learning about yourself, what colors you like, you know, what mark making you love, and develop your authentic voice. So this painting is sitting beside, oops, excuse me. Tried to hold in my sneeze, excuse me. So this card, I just want to show you, is here with this painting. And for my video today, I'm just gonna make it so you guys are, let's just see, there you go, backed out a little bit. Now you see my messy table, but you can see everything. And this is what I wanted to talk about today, which is how I mounted this watercolor paper to this cradled wood panel. This is really neat because this is actually a floating frame. I purchased these frames, so it was a set. They come together basically. Let me just see here. This is an example of the brand Apollon. There's so many different brands, but it's basically a floater panel. And when you purchase it, if it comes in the mail or you go to the store, This is nailed in. So this particular brand nails in this wood panel. So you have to push it out really hard without, you know, kind of wrecking, damaging the wood. It's very hard to do. It is nice when they're mailed that they don't get damaged and they sit in here until you're ready to use them. But just know that this pops out, and then you can basically put the wood panel, or in this case, I did this little cat canvas, and it just sits in here so nicely. So this is just another example. What I need to do is put these little tools and secure it. I'm really lucky that my dad is an incredible woodworker, and he does a lot of that stuff for me. And it's just a nice way of framing your work. And these cradled wood panels are, I don't know if they're new so much, but they're just another really great option that we're starting to see more in the local art stores here in Calgary. I got these ones at Destination Art, and I love them. They sell out fast. I'm just gonna free up some space. So this painting, on here I wrote develop your authentic voice, because I feel like a lot of this incorporates the colors and mark making that I love in my work. And funny that I would still have the original. I am very prolific, so I have sold a lot of the original paintings from the Oracle deck, and then some of them are quite new. So this one I titled The Space Between the Clouds, and I can kind of get into why I named it that in another video. There's quite a story to my recent collection, and I titled the collection As We Cloud Our Vision. So, but this particular work, again, back to what I was talking about, it is a watercolor piece. So you're thinking, okay, well, once you mount it to panel, how do you finish it? And I just want to show you. So here's an example of one that I had done quite a long time ago. Well, 2021, to me that's a long time ago. I started painting about 5 or 6 years ago, but only seriously since 2020. This is mounted paper, but this was acrylic paint. So you can see I used a varnish, an acrylic varnish on here with that really beautiful sheen. Now you can't do that with watercolor. You either need to frame it behind glass, or you can use what I've been doing, and I'm still really learning. It's not the easiest process, but I basically buffed on a cold wax medium. So I have used both Gamblin cold wax medium. It just comes in this little jar. It does have a little bit of an odor. It's combustible. You have to be pretty cautious. So when the weather is nice here in Calgary, I buff this on my painting. I sit outside just to not get headaches, because I do get headaches from these products. This is another one I just purchased. They're not cheap. This was $46 Canadian, but a little goes a long way, and it's just a really nice alternative if you are a watercolor artist. Say you want to mount this to panel instead of putting it behind glass, you can just buff on this wax medium so easily and then be able to protect it. And you know, you could spritz water on it after and it would just repel the water. Nothing would bleed. So it's a really great product. So I just wanted to show you that. And this one, I've buffed it once, but I might just buff it again just to make sure it's fully covered. What you do is you put the first coat on and then you let it sort of set and air out for, I usually let it set for 24 to 48 hours. Then you can go back, add another layer and buff it out if you want to get a little bit more of a sheen. So I'm really pleased with how this piece turned out. This was 140-pound cold pressed Arches watercolor paper with watercolor as my primary medium, and then again mounted to wood panel. So, and then just what a beautiful way to present this. And I might just keep this one for a little while because I do really love it. It just speaks to me. I don't keep a lot of my work. So I'm just gonna set that down. Sorry, Oakley, my little rescue. And let's see. Meaningful coincidences are signals from the universe. So So a lot of these are art poetry style. This one again has my reticulated pattern. This was a really large piece. I believe it was at least 24 inches, 24 inches wide maybe. I forget how tall, but I love that. This was a piece that I had done just for the art poetry deck. Allow for abundance and be open to receive. So just as we flip through, find green spaces and explore them. I did a series of these girls, and find peace in the present. Reinvent yourself. So I'm just gonna kind of flip through here fairly quick because I want to get to kind of the meat of the video, some of the pearls. Do it for yourself. So I only paint for myself. When I sit down and paint, I have to remind myself this is for me. It's not because I know this style will sell. This is because I want to paint in this moment. Or for instance, record a video. I want to record a video in this moment for myself. Be open to new opportunities. Trust your intuition. So these cards are just an example of some of the styles that I love to paint. I love to paint the mountains. Some people call them teepees, triangles, whatever you want to call them. That's just sort of my style. The mountains, the Rocky Mountains, are pretty much in our backyard here in Calgary, which is amazing. Replay your favorite memories. So this painting was titled Sandy Beaches of the North Shore, and I did actually keep this painting. I'm looking at it here in my studio. It has, it's framed behind glass, and I was thinking of the North Shore, Kauai. That reminds me, I've been waiting on watercolors from the Ocean Paper Kauai from Princeville, theoceanpaper.com. I love their watercolors, but I have been waiting, it's been about 3 months, and I ended up finally hearing back and got quite an apology, and they are on the way. So for those of you that were following along with me, I have been waiting for these paints, and they are coming soon. So I'll have to share that new palette. I think the palette was called Around the World. Accept the meaning in darkness. I like to have a lot of dark in the middle of my paintings. This is one of my paintings titled And There You'll Be. This is a cotton rag or a giclée print. You can see the dark in here, the Payne's gray. Mountains, there's my girl. Add color to your world. Find rainbows. Find the magic in each moment. This one, I had written that on the work itself. Another reticulated pattern in this one. So for those of you that are going to follow along with me on my channel, I am going to try and pick a card, you know, before each video. And wow, 71 cards is a lot, isn't it? But this just is, you know, I can understand some people may not want to invest in a deck unless they've seen the cards. And this is just a good way for you to see some of the cards. You can kind of tell by the way they sound, like the quality is really good. The back just has my one painting titled Quiet, which is the same as on the box. Hold on to hope. So this says this too shall pass. This painting went to the US and I sold it in 2020. 2020 was a year where I was painting pretty much daily, selling weekly for sure, almost every day for a while, because I just felt like the world just needed art. People were buying art straight from Instagram, which is pretty amazing. So this is just an example of the cards. And so I love color. My art, I hope that it's very uplifting. It's, yeah, very colorful, very uplifting. I was trying to think of how to describe my art. I've heard that it can be calming or peaceful. This one, Remember Your Breath, was another painting I did during 2020. I wanted something to walk by when I was thinking about, you know, just lockdown and the virus going around, and just remembering to breathe. You know, the virus really took over the lungs of a lot of people and affected breathing. And in general, just that reminder to breathe deeply and inhale gratitude. Connect the dots, make connections, let go of what is not serving you. I love this one, keep it simple. We can do some of that watercolor painting sometime because it is a very simple, simple way of painting. So yeah, just some of the cards that you can see. This one is the giclée print of my painting, and there you'll be, this mountain painting. I'll talk about mounting giclée prints. Basically, it's like watercolor paper, really high quality watercolor paper. That's all, you know, a giclée print is, a really archival, high quality ink. Giclée is it means, you know, to spray ink. Some people just call it fine art print. Okay, so that is the deck, and to shuffle it, I almost need to split it in half because it can be really hard to shuffle. But if you have purchased the deck, you just have to warm it up. So you can see that shuffling it was still pretty stiff. And oops, I'm not going to be too particular today about shuffling. Something I need to practice. You can always do the old school shuffle too. If it was my son, he would just throw them all up in the air, and whatever lands where his foot is, he'd probably pick. We'll just pick this one today. Oh, okay, add color to your world. Oh, you know, it's so funny. Good thing this is my deck. So I obviously embellished the moon, and I can see that it's smeared. So that's good I found this, right? I didn't notice that. So I'm just gonna be able to clean that up. I might just add some white. I'll be able to clean that up. It just looks like the moon is shining brighter. So happy accidents, right? So I'm gonna set that aside and go back to, I always feel like saying excuse my reach, but really you're not here with me, right? You kind of are here with me. Such a funny thing talking to myself on video, but I am getting used to it, and I love all of your comments when you write to me on my channel. I really appreciate it. So it makes me feel like I'm not alone. And so we are gonna get started. I'll just show you some examples. One of you had reached out and they were like, I know you told me something that would make a really great Christmas gift, and I can't remember, was it ornaments or what was it? And I was trying to remember what video it was and what I was showing, but I have a feeling it was these mounted giclée prints to wood panel. So you can, like I said, buy these cradled wood panels, these wood boards, pretty much anywhere, probably at Michael's or your local craft store, your art store. My dad had made me some. This was pretty tedious, this small one to make. So that was, it says handcrafted by John McGregor. There's the title of the painting, Magical Sky, my signature, and then at the time, so I've rebranded, which I know I've had a lot of change actually to my business, but you can now find everything Oracle deck, original art, and prints under alisondorant.com. I used to have a separate print website called Art Magic, and I'm no longer we're no longer kind of having that website running. All of the artists are sort of taking the prints and putting them on their own site. So the prints are done all by one person, a local artist here in Calgary, Alberta. So I don't do those printing companies, print on demand. I touch every single print that is ordered. I embellish it. It comes with a certificate of authenticity. I'm sidetracking, but if you have a painting you've done, again, like just a painting on paper, and you find a wood panel, you can mount it to the panel, and then you can get these little awesome push-in sawtooth backings. These are really great, and you're good to go. I varnished this one, which wasn't easy. I'm still learning the proper varnish techniques. I really like doing the edges of my paintings. It takes a lot of time, especially for the small ones, but you can just see the texture along there is pretty cool. So there was one Christmas, I think it was 2 years ago, that, well, probably, you know, 2020, I just had a bit more time on my hands. And I had made a whole bunch of these little panels. This one I had just started finishing up and labeling, and I still have to do the edges, so I'm gonna add some mark making on here. This one's my snow in the mountains, which I really love how the sides turned out. So that probably was the idea. I don't do a ton of ornaments. I find them really time consuming. I'd rather just paint a whole painting. But I wanted to show you those. So, I mean, these are small and they're fun. And if you have scraps of like little paintings, you know, this one, for example, is not done yet. This isn't super small, but, you know, getting them on a wood panel and finishing them it's quite fun. Just gonna slip these under my table. This one is another print I was working on. This one as well. So different sizes. These are 5x7 wood panels. And so I talked about this cradled look, and then this is a giclée print that I thought I would maybe put right on here. I just can't decide yet. I'm thinking I'll probably mount this one, my little original watercolor. Not today. I have some other ones I want to show you today. And let's just see. I'm going to show you what I'm working on. I have this show coming up, the Under 100 art show. Everything is under $100, and I am finishing up some paintings. For example, this one, an original watercolor piece that I've mounted to panel, and I have painted the sides a bronze. I really like bronze. I think it goes really well with my art. So you can see I've tagged it between the clouds and priced it. And so that's just an example of one mounted to panel. Here's another one, the same size. This one's titled It's Evergreen. It's evergreen, and I've added the wax coating on here, so these are all ready to go. I might just buff them out a little bit to clean them up. And then here's a really big one. This painting, I had a hard time flattening it, so I love the fact that I could mount it to a wood panel and again get that wax medium over top, and it's ready to go. Set that aside. Oh my gosh, you should see my table. This is one I did in 2020. I was still trying to find my own style, and this was primarily acrylic, and I have to repaint the edges here, so this is not finished. This was a panel my father had made. I have the sawtooth back, and this was toned paper, that Strathmore gray toned paper. I love working on toned paper. Here is one of my art poetry paintings mounted to wood panel. And let's just see some of the triangle. This is more like collage. I mounted big pieces of paper to the panel, but it's more in pieces, not like full. It's not like a full sheet that I had used, but same concept. And this I did coat with wax as well, because I had a lot of watercolor work in there. Try not to damage anything. I was doing a video on my Instagram on how to mount to panel, and unfortunately I used the wrong varnish technique, and it was like a matte varnish, and it's so streaky, so it's unfortunate. I really loved this painting, but you can just see it's super, super streaky. So I'm trying to research YouTube videos on how to correct this, because I feel like I possibly can salvage it. But I would not sell it, of course, like this, but it mounted beautifully to the panel. see. I was playing with some little triangular pieces. This is again paper mounted to panel. This is a work in progress. Here's one. So if you're gonna try this, my recommendation is, what are you most comfortable varnishing or finishing? So for me, I'm really comfortable finishing acrylic versus watercolor. This is one that I somehow was able to varnish, even though it had watercolor and also acrylic in it, and it turned out really quite well. I think the only thing that saved me was I had sprayed some Spectrafix fixative over this before varnishing it, and it's not perfect, but I quite like it. So this was collage and acrylics, watercolor. And then you can see this little one, the mountains are calling print. This is just a little print. I decided to just do these edges in the bronze and embellish the moon. And this is one I did a really long time ago that I haven't finished, but again, an example of, paper on wood panel. And so what I want to show you is how to do this, how to kind of, find scraps of paper that maybe you once didn't know what to do with. You can use, your kids' artwork or your grandkids, or just mount, maybe a birthday card that you love or something. I'm just gonna see if I can get the lighting in here. It's pretty dark here today, so sorry about the lighting. And I have grabbed a couple wood panels, so I'm just gonna get some out. And next to me, I believe you can buy these, like I said, at Michael's in packs of 2 or 3 now. At least in Canada you can. And I'll show you ones that I want to do. This is an example of a painting on paper that's not done yet, but I found a wood panel that sort of perfectly matches, that I won't have to trim a whole lot. I can still keep that composition and get it onto the panel. So I'll probably do this one. I'm not as comfortable varnishing this style. We'll see. It's all just learning. Here's another one. I was just playing around trying to find my own style, my own technique, and I came across, I just love this base. It's a really beautiful base for something. I'm just not sure what. Same with this one. And so what we'll do is we're gonna go ahead, and I've had so much out on my table. I just need to find, this is a good little one to start with. So this is an unfinished painting. It's on, I actually signed the back, and it's, that's funny, I tend to sign before I finish. Those of you that follow my videos know that it's just a quirk that I sign my paintings before I'm done. And I am ready to put this 140-pound watercolor paper, cold pressed, on panel. It works with hot press paper, it works with Yupo paper, but Yupo paper is more of a plastic. I love the watercolor paper because it just absorbs enough glue to really hold to the wood panel, and you don't need a ton of glue. So what I'm gonna do, I use gloves. I usually use a glove on at least one hand. I keep one hand free. My dominant hand, I'm gonna glove. And I usually have a tack cloth, which is a cloth you can get at the hardware store. Tack, I think it's T-A-C or T-A-C-K actually. Home Depot has them, and they're sort of a sticky cloth that you can run over wood. These are not, this is not handcrafted, so they did take off some of the wood dust. I'm just gonna kind of use a paper towel though and do that. And then I'm gonna grab my Liquetex matte gel. You can see I'm running a bit low on here, so what I'm gonna do is, you need to have a paper towel handy. I'm gonna take this one off. Get that off before I throw out this part, this little foil. So I'm using Liquetex matte gel, which is basically an art glue. It has a really nice consistency. I'm just gonna set that over here. And I'm gonna just put a dollop on, and my glove will get pretty messy. And I'm gonna just run my palm out to the side of the panel. And there is a little bit of a smell. So, you know, in hindsight, I probably would open a window, but I'm not gonna do this because it should be okay. I can always open my patio door here. I'm quite close to some fresh air. I know a lot of people don't get headaches from art materials, but I tend to. I guess I'm just a very sensitive person. I think maybe I'm a highly sensitive person. I've heard that artists tend to be highly sensitive people, but I think that's a good thing. I don't like to be told I'm a highly sensitive person. That would make me like kind of frustrated, and I get overly sensitive about that, but I know deep down I'm very sensitive. So to my mother, if you're watching, yes, I know I'm sensitive and it's a good quality. Okay, so sidetracking. I used my palm and made sure I got all of the edges. So I'm just basically running that glue over. There's not a ton on here. And I'm gonna do little air pockets by just tapping my palm and my fingers. And as I kind of get closer with my palm to the top of the board, I'm just gonna use my palm for the whole thing and just make sure it looks consistent. You can see I almost got that reticulated texture that I have in my paintings. That's a little tip for those of you that are wondering how I do that. I'm still not ready to share that secret of how I do that particular style, but I'm sure it's all over the internet. It's just a matter of finding it. Okay, so that looks pretty cool, and it's ready to go. And what I'm gonna do is, just because I don't wanna get the matte medium on my painting, I'm just gonna put that glove over here, and I'm just gonna line this up. Now this one is 8 inches square, and the watercolor paper pad I used was 8 inches square, so I'm really lucky I don't have to trim off any excess. And it fits really nicely. Not all boards, or, you know, if it says it's a certain size, not all are created equal, but I'm really, really lucky. And I actually sort of pre-chose this for my video because I knew it would just be easy, an easy start. Okay, so what you can see right now is I'm just basically lining it up. If it's lined up improperly, see how I'm actually moving it around. I'm trying to get that a bit over. You have a little bit of leeway, so if you have it glued down and you're not quite happy with it, there's probably a minute or two where you can just move it with your fingers to the edge. I'm happy with that. Nobody is gonna notice if it's not right to the edge because you can paint the edges. And embracing imperfections. I'm gonna take some wax paper or some parchment paper. Actually, first, I'm gonna use my fist. And I'm going to zoom you in for a second. For this process, so you need the wood panel, you need a workspace, obviously, where you're comfortable if you're gonna be working with glue, and well-ventilated space. You need some paper or an old painting or a work in progress. Again, your kids' artwork, your grandkids' artwork. You're gonna need paper towel just in case there's glue coming off the edge. You wanna be able to, you know, baby wipes are awesome, or just a wet paper towel just to kind of go like this. I'm really lucky. I have mounted hundreds probably of paintings to wood panel. So I feel like usually I have some glue coming out, but the smaller the work you do, the less glue, the less room for error. So I'm just warming up the painting with my hand. So the warmth of my hand is just helping kind of get that glue, that paper to the wood panel. And I'm just trying to work out any air bubbles. It feels really good, but you can use a rolling pin or an art brayer. This is by Speedball. It's not the best. I couldn't find my brayer today and I didn't want to spend time looking for it. And so I'm just gonna push out, starting in the center of the artwork and pushing out. So if there's any air bubbles, you're pushing them out to the side. You're pushing out the excess glue. And now the key at this point is patience. So what you need is a flat surface, glass surface, or granite countertop, any kind of flat, smooth surface. So think about where you have that in your space. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure you keep the front of the artwork clean, put it over top of the wax paper or parchment paper, whatever paper would keep it clean. Put something super heavy. I use my old school toaster oven, sometimes my air fryer. I love that air fryer. I think I use it every day. It's really heavy, it's great. So my husband comes home and he's like, are you pressing tofu or is that a painting? He's like, can I move this? Because for those of you that eat tofu, you'll know that it's good to get the water out. It's the same as putting a ton of weight on this so the painting gets mounted to the panel. So I'm gonna quickly just take that over now, and then I'll be there with you in a moment. Get some books. Okay, I'm coming back. Okay, wait for me, I don't edit. I'm not gonna trim that. Okay, I'm back. That was pretty quick. Now, so I want you to think of what scraps of paper do you have laying around. I had done a collection that was a bit of a flop over the last 6 months. It was very poorly advertised, but I was very proud of it. And so this is one little original that I had. So I'd love to find, maybe it's a 5x7, a panel that this could fit on, but you kind of have to think of, okay, what size panel do I have? What size artwork do I need? And as you can see, let's just see if this actually lines up. Even though this is from the same pad of paper that I think I just used, this wood panel is not quite the right size. So you just have to play around. This one too. So what I'm gonna do is we'll do a larger one. I'm just gonna zoom you back out for a second. Let's do this one. And it's good if you can do a whole bunch at once because you have out the supplies. So, the more you do, the better you get. This painting, you can see I'm gonna be trimming off. This is one I had already done, about that much. So I think that's probably an 11 by 14 size. And the painting was maybe 11 by 15. So I'm gonna be trimming off 1 inch. Make sure you know where you wanna trim. Make sure you line it up and then kind of have an idea just seeing if this is, this paper does not look straight. Just gonna see, no, it is, no, it's weird, or the wood panel is not straight. I'm just gonna get another piece. That one won't fit on. Don't really like that. Maybe I do. Maybe I can work with that. Okay, so this is almost perfect, but it will require a tiny bit of trimming. And all you have to do is, so right now that first painting that we mounted is drying. Leave it for 24 hours, ideally longer, 48, 72. The longer it allows that drying time, the flatter, the better it will be to work on afterwards. And then come back to it. And when it's dry, if for some reason you need to trim any of the edges, trim them when they're dry with an X-Acto knife, you know, just, you can get these disposable ones at the dollar store. I like to use the larger handheld ones. And what you do is when it's dry, because if it's wet, the cotton fibers of the painting will pull and you'll be left with having to kind of do some damage control. If you have some fibers that aren't, or, you know, it's not straight, this is a really great sanding device. You can get different types of sanding devices. These go on like a handheld sander, and you can clean it up after if you kind of know which way the fibers are going. So don't worry too much. You know, it's sort of troubleshooting. Just don't mount your favorite painting just on the off chance that it doesn't work. That makes sense. Just gonna decide if I like this or not. Do I really want to do this one? I have to think about my show coming up. I was gonna do this one, but yeah, it just doesn't fit, does it? Let's just see what we have here. That one's pretty good. Just again, it's how am I going to finish this painting before the show? Oh, I have one. I like this one. I did this in 2019, and I feel like it's not quite done. I'm gonna just decide. Yep, this one's actually, this is good. I'm gonna do this painting. So I'm gonna just make sure really quickly there's no dust. And just, I see I actually, on the back of this painting, I had a tag. I was playing around, so I have to realize when I put the matte medium down, it might pick up some color. And so just to be really cautious if that glue comes out, not to get that color on the front, not to use a gloss gel, always make sure you use a matte gel, okay? Because you don't want to get that shimmer on your painting unless you are gonna be going for a glaze at the end. So I'm gonna re-glove with this same glove. It's not dry. And I like to reuse as best I can. This hand is getting a bit sticky and all I have is my water, drinking water. I might just pour a little bit of my lemon water. Okay, there we go. Just get that off my hands so I don't wreck my painting. And I'm gonna put that dollop of matte gel. I used a fair bit. Don't want it to dry out. I'm in Calgary, which is a really, really dry climate for the most part. I'm gonna put my muscle into it and really get the glue to the edges. Just trying to think if there's anything I haven't talked to you about. So because you're mounting the work to wood panel, again, it's not gonna go behind glass. And so it's sort of like just, it's a canvas, right? But it's become a wood back. And then whatever you painted with, so acrylic, you need, of course, a varnish that will seal your work that goes with an acrylic painting. I don't do oil. I know nothing about oil painting, but when I do watercolor, again, even though it's a really time-consuming and hard process, that wax medium's great. So I've pushed all the glue out to the edges, and I'm gonna get those pockets, those air pockets. And you know, I was kind of nervous about doing a video after having not done a video in so long. So part of me thought, okay, well, I'm excited to get back, but yeah, it's like riding a bike. You get back on and you figure it out, even though all that time has gone by. But this helps me because I'm actually doing work that I will have in my art show coming up here. So actually, it's sort of a win-win. Okay, so I got that air pocket. I'm gonna turn my glove back inside out. I'm just gonna get that glue off again, my fingers off the side of this paper. And we're gonna, oops, bring you back in. Where are we at? There we go. I'm just gonna put this back a little bit. Okay. There we go. And I'm gonna grab my painting and put it on. And I'm gonna re-sign it because it's kind of dirty down here. It's got marks on it. So I'm gonna make sure that my signature is cut off. And this painting would be hard to flatten. I could easily flatten it, but I love the idea of mounting it because I can revisit it, I can repaint it, fix it up. And you know, it is a little uneven, but that's okay. This is the trickiest part, is just getting it on lined up, especially if it's a painting that had like a watercolor medium. I think this was watercolor and acrylics, I can't remember. I use a lot of different mediums, and so I don't always remember what I used. I paint every day, and so sometimes I think, oh, I'd love to paint that style again, and then like, but I don't remember it. It's a good thing I'm doing YouTube videos. Maybe when I'm older and needing art in my life, and maybe I hope to always paint until I'm like 100, 105. But the good thing is I can maybe look back at my videos. So here, this edge I know needs more glue. I'm just gonna go back in like this. Do a little bit more glue on this side. So those corners are the most important. And I know this is definitely a little, it's almost like the paper, it's buckled a little bit. So it's good I'm showing you this one as an example, because it's sort of like working with errors as they happen. So more glue here. Just where it's buckling, I'm gonna put in more glue with my finger. You see the glue coming out the edge. And then I'm at the point where I've lined it up, but I need help from my brayer. You can see I can pull this up still. See how there's just very little glue? You can see the paint coming off of that painting onto the panel. Hopefully it won't come through to the white part of my art on the front. And we're gonna just use our rolling pin, our art rolling pin, not our baking rolling pin. And we're gonna push outward from the center. And I clearly need more glue. This is probably one of the most finicky papers I have ever mounted. I've got matte gel right here. I'm just gonna clean it off. I'm gonna use my fist. I feel like this side is going well for the most part. I'm gonna start over here. And really put my weight into it. Good thing you can double speed me or triple speed. I feel like I'm getting a workout. Who needs to go to a gym when you do art like this? Okay, so I need more glue right there. I'm gonna go to the edge and push up. I really like doing art like this because I think of it as a challenge. You know, oh, see, I just actually smudged blue over here. So I'm gonna be painting this white. I'm probably gonna use like a white gesso or a white paint and just go all around, unless I can make the smudge part of the painting. Okay, So I'm gonna put this back on and just go back over. So you get the idea, right? So you need your panel, you need a wood panel, a cradled wood panel. Find some pieces of papered work or works in progress that you want to reuse, repurpose. Find a glue. Matte medium's awesome. Liquetex is good. There's lots of good matte gel mediums out there. Even sometimes the no-name brands are good. And I would not use Mod Podge only because that's a dollar store glue and it would yellow with time and it may actually turn your work yellow. So if you're on a budget and you're just doing this for yourself, just know that Mod Podge is a great adhesive. It's just not something that if you're selling your work you would want to use because your work would probably turn color over time. Not for sure, but just as a heads up. I know when I first started, I was using Mod Podge. I was like, well, why would I buy the expensive stuff? And quickly I realized that the expensive stuff is just so much easier to use and it is worth it. As you can see, like this matte medium, a little bit goes a long way. There, I've lifted up that edge. So the other reason I really got into doing these panels lately is because number one, I'm prolific. I have a lot of art on paper. Framing is expensive for clients when they buy your art. You know, you have to think of the expense for them, or, you know, they need to think of that as art buyers. But for the show, we're allowed to have frames, but they have to have a really good wire backing because we use these S-shaped hooks, these really thick hooks. And the show doesn't accept all type of backings of frames. And glass is tricky, right? You know, this show, there's gonna be thousands of pieces of art. I think there's maybe, at least 200 artists in the show. And we're allowed to submit as many pieces as we want. They have this huge warehouse they rented, and it's gonna be pretty awesome. But anyway, I decided I have all this work on paper, and I didn't want the expense of putting it in a glass frame. A lot of those, you know, more affordable glass frames have those cardboard backings, and they're not good. So the show, of course, won't take those. And so this is the perfect workaround, is I can take a work. I'm already really excited about this work. I am gonna make sure, you see how there's that glue here, that excess glue? I can use my finger and actually put it right back in the jar if it's not colored with paint. And the other side looks okay, so I'm gonna put the lid on my matte medium. And if this was a baby wipe, it would be ideal. But a dry paper towel is okay too, and you just want to get off that glue so it doesn't really, like, you want this smooth, so when you come back 24 or 48 hours later with your X-Acto knife, when you go in to cut, if you have glue there, it would make your X-Acto knife kind of uneven, and it can be really tricky to clean up. So you want to make sure it's totally dry, totally flat, no air bubbles. And so I'm just gonna push down here, and then I'm gonna put it under some weight again and go get my air fryer. Okay, and I'm gonna put some parchment paper down to protect this. See if that's big enough. Okay, so I'm gonna put some weight on this. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I'm coming back. what else I wanted to talk to you about is, I just have like a ton of work here. I did this cyanotype. I was thinking about mounting it to wood panel. These are just some really big works in progress that I am working on. So just finishing these up. And I'm trying to think of what I wanted to do with these. Love that color. I had tried, oh, I know what I was going to tell you. So I love to work big sometimes. I love to practice big. There's a lot of freedom. There's also a lot of pressure though if it doesn't work well and you've purchased an expensive paper. It's a 90-pound paper, so it's not 140 pounds, this really high quality paper. And this is fun to play on. You can see I was playing around with textures. And this paper is probably easier to mount to panel than the thicker papers. So you can see I did some collage. This is 140-pound paper, but I kept this because I thought, oh, this would look really awesome on a wood panel. So what I want to do is use that. I also tend to paint on both sides of my works just to play. I was cleaning my brushes here. Again, this would be a really good background for a wood panel. A new painting, here's one. This actually could be a painting in itself. It looks pretty good. This one, not so much. I don't love this greenish yellow color. It's not one of my favorites where it overtakes the painting. And you can see I was working on my reticulated pattern here. So look at what you have, but if you have thinner paper, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just gonna see what I have. The bigger you paint, you can, at the art store, it's not cheap, but you can get really large wood panels. So when I go through some of my art, if I had finished this mountain painting, oh, this one here is closer to being done. This is really large. It would be really expensive to frame. So, if I found a cradled wood panel and mounted this, that would just be a really great way of finishing the painting. And, clients tend to love wood panels. Black, I love to do the tone papers on wood panels. So I started this painting, has a lot of texture. I don't know if I'm ready to cut it up quite yet. This, I think I painted, did you both sides? Seeing what I have here. Just play. So going through some of your old works, whether they're large or small, thinking about how to repurpose them. I'm just gonna see before I finish, is there any other one I want to do with you all? Let's see. We could do one more small one. And I might have some that need to be trimmed. I should just, I don't want to leave you guys too long here. You know what I could do? I might just finish by pulling a card from my oracle deck. And oops, this was just really great to kind of get back on the bike again to be able to do a video with you all, because I have missed doing a video. I'm gonna just put this down a little bit. Forgive me for wobbling around here. I'm so sorry. I have to cut this out. I'm very stubborn. I don't want to do any edits because I'm a really busy mom and I just love doing videos and being able to upload. Okay, we're gonna do another card. Okay, so this painting, pay attention to the details. This painting, I actually had titled Subtleties in Snowflakes. And when I did this watercolor painting, the watercolor, the way it bloomed, made those beautiful, beautiful designs. It's really hard to see on this card, but I saw snowflakes, and I love the intricacies of the details in snowflakes and how there's so many subtleties in those details. And I've been told that a lot of my art is particularly, I suppose, appealing because of the fine details, and I never really saw it like that, but it was interesting to hear someone else say that. I feel like good art takes time. It is important to pay attention to the details, but I do have another art card that says, don't get caught up in the details, and that was purposeful because I think sometimes we can get really caught up in the details of life, the details of art. If you have any tendency of trying to get things, perfect or just right, that can just, it's so energy draining. And, yes, good art takes time, but you just want to embrace that, the imperfection as well. So this painting, though, I think I said pay attention to the details, what's going on in your life, and, are you needing to kind of zero in on something that's maybe been kind of calling out to you. And yeah, that it's interesting. Tomorrow it's going to snow here in Calgary, so just the subtleties of snowflakes and how they're all unique and beautiful. And the same with artists, we all, even if we're trying to paint the same way, if we have similar styles or we're emulating each other, it really is in the details, the subtleties of what makes us unique, whether it's our signature or not the how we do it, the how we paint, but the why we paint. Somebody may paint very similar to my style and just nail it. And, who learned the style first, where did it come from? But it's the why the artist paints, deep in their heart. The thing that makes them different and stand out is the artist why. They may have a very similar process and get to a similar outcome, but it's sort of how they get there and why they get there that's different. And doing these little these art deck readings will get easier. And like I said, I feel like I'm sort of out of my rhythm, but I just really appreciate you all being here. And I'm just going to end it with this card, which says, emulate those you admire. So just remembering that it is okay to copy and to emulate, imitate until you find your own style. There's no shame in that. And I still do it all the time. Artists share ideas with each other. We inspire each other. And just to know that, and to kind of, I guess, get confidence knowing that that's okay, and it's still going to be your own. Even if you're really trying to kind of emulate something, it will ultimately always be your own. And again, it's not how you do it or how it turns out, it's the why you do it, why you're doing it. One person, such as myself, might just be painting for the purpose, not that final outcome. And someone else might be painting more for the outcome because they really want to learn that style. And so sort of a different reasoning, and that's okay. So I'm just wishing you all creativity, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate everybody's support. And if you're still watching, thank you for sticking with me to the end. I hope you can find some little, scraps of paper and, some paintings that you really want to try mounting to wood panel. It's quite easy, quite affordable. And I think they look really great. It's just a really nice gift. It's, like I said, if this was my son's artwork, it's just a really cool way of, finishing up art. Kids probably paint on thinner paper. What a neat way just to really flatten out what they've done and make it beautiful and show them that it was worthy of, you taking the time to mount it to panel or doing it for yourself, right? So I will end there and just say thank you so much, and we'll see you all soon.